Welcome to United Way Community Connections. We're glad you joined us, and we hope that we can enlighten you and give you some information and let you meet some folks that you might not know. With me today, Guelda Wooldridge from the Senior Center, and with her, her friends Pearl and Verlie, and we're going to hear from all of them in just a minute. Welcome, and we're glad you're here today.
Thank you.
Guelda, we'll start with you, and if you'll just tell the folks, what does E-Holmes mean? What do the initials mean? And let's talk about how you got started and what you do.
In the late 90s, the United Way had a community assessment in which they found out there were many needs that seniors were wanting. And at that time, it was found out that seniors were living in homes that were unsafe. And so E-Homes was formed. E-Homes stands for Elderly Homeowners Maintenance and Everyday Security. It is almost 100% funded by United Way, and we appreciate everybody that gives to United Way to offer this to us. We also have community donations and corporate sponsors that help somewhat with the needs. Now, if the seniors live in McCracken County, they own their own home and live in it, and are low income, which means that they have a household income of less than $12,000, then they qualify for assistance with safety, simple maintenance, and accessibility. A lot of times we will be doing bolt locks, fire extinguishers, smoke detectors. Also, we work with accessibility things such as grab rails in the bathrooms, grab rails in the showers, handrails on the back step, the front steps. Sometimes older homes have thresholds where maybe the back porch was made into a bedroom, and we can help with those thresholds where they don't trip people up. Sometimes there's places between the different kinds of flooring that make it a hazard for individuals, and we can help with some of that.
So basically anything that a senior might need to be able to stay in their home and be independent then?
Yes, to be independent and stay in that home. We all know that everybody's happiest in their own home.
You feel better when you get in your own home, and if it's safe, I know that is even more important, particularly to the seniors. And I think, as you were talking, you and I probably take a lot of those things for granted. We just don't worry about them at our houses until the arthritis in our knees kind of kicks in. And the upstairs part of my house right now is, and I think, my goodness, one day is that going to be a problem? But a lot of the things you don't think about, and I know that I was excited when this program started because there's nothing else in this community that's exactly like this. And United Way worked with Senior Center to put the guidelines together and to be sure that the seniors that really needed it was going to get the help. So we appreciate how far it's come. Now, are you the director of E-Homes as well as Senior Center?
Well, I'm the director of the Senior Center, and E-Homes is one of our programs. The director of E-Homes is Richard Myrick. He's the one that actually does the majority of all the work on the homes. We have volunteers who also help. One Saturday a month, Broadway United Methodist Church and their ministry down there come out and help E-Homes. They're actually the ones that help to make the ramp at Pearl and Verlie's home. So that allows us to get major projects completed in a short period of time, and we're very proud of that ministry through the church down there.
What would be your greatest need then as far as your E-Homes program that maybe would help to serve a lot more people or some more people?
If we had volunteers who could work during the 9 to 5 hour during the week, an afternoon or a morning, you don't have to have great skills. Even if you're just the person to go get the tools and bring them back or to hold the boards, it doesn't take much skill to do that kind of stuff. I can even do that. Then Richard could use your assistance. We could get a lot more done and help a lot more people.
Okay. Where do you get your materials?
Well, some of the materials are donated, but generally we purchase them through local distributors. Some of the local businesses give us a discount because we are a nonprofit. The people who receive the services are asked if they can to offer donations, and that helps to purchase those materials. We'll take the money from anybody we can get it, and but any kind of business that would want to help with building materials would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, and they would just contact the senior center because
Contact the
Richard's
senior
office
center,
is
yes.
there, and so you all could take care of it from there then. Well, let's meet Pearl and Verlie and talk to them and find out what their connection is to the E-Homes, because I know Pearl's just really excited about talking about what E-Homes has done for them. So, Pearl, what is your connection? How have you been served?
Well, E-Homes, I wasn't aware of it till about 3 or 4 years ago. And Verlie had this double major heart attacks, and then he had the COPD, and it got so that he was not able to go up and down steps. He didn't have the breath or the strength, and it became a concern of mine of getting him up and down the steps. I was afraid we would fall, one or the other, or both, and break a hip and wind up in the nursing home, and I didn't want that. And so Richard volunteered one day to repair some things around the house, and I wasn't aware of what all he did to help we people. And so he was working on some storm doors one day, and he said, "Pearl, why don't you let me build you a ramp to get Verlie in and out here?" Because our house was an older house. It had steps on the front and steps in the
on
back.
the back, yes.
And so there was a time that he could hold to the rails and walk down the steps and me help him, but he got where he couldn't do that. He had a fear of falling and he would get trembly. So I said, "Well, Richard, I'll think about it." Of course, he had done several things at my house. He had put a ceiling fan for me, and, excuse me, and he had repaired several things around the house that I could not repair. And so the more I thought about it, I thought, well, that might be an answer to our problem. And so I have learned to depend on Richard. Whenever I need anything, I just say, "Richard, I need so-and-so repaired." He has been wonderful. He's faithful, he's dependable, he's a nice gentleman. He's really cut out for the work, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so when he started this ramp, I said, "Well, Richard, where are you going to build that ramp? Because our house is so close to the driveway. How are you going to drop that down to where it won't be too steep?" He said, "You let me worry about that."
Richard can take care of
Yes.
it.
So
Oh, that's good.
you want to tell them something about the ramp?
Well, all I can say, it's a good ramp, and it's been a great help. He told me he was going to, it's a short distance to our driveway. He said, "I'm going to drop it 1 inch per foot." I said, "Well, that sounds like it'd be okay." So he built that ramp, and I haven't used the front door since.
So he knew exactly the slant that you
He knew
needed,
exactly
and
how,
that's
'cause
important.
he had to build a deck out in order to get it the elevation that he needed to go to the driveway. And as Verlie says, we haven't used the front door with him since he had built that driveway, that ramp and
Well,
ramp and deck. I'll get it right in a minute. And
So you couldn't go in and out really
No.
if you didn't have
At first
the
I could
ramp.
hold the rails,
Yeah.
but I got to where I couldn't.
we have so many doctors and dental appointments, and we like to go to church when we can. We don't get to go too often, but we would be homebound
Yeah.
if it weren't for this ramp. So I really and truly, and it's something of beauty to look at. It's nice.
I'm
It's
sure it
added to
is.
the house
Yeah.
in that respect, besides feeling secure and safe coming in and out. And it makes us be more independent. We don't have to call for someone every time we go out the door to come and help us. And it's just been a blessing. We have really and thoroughly enjoyed it. And every time we go in out that door, we'll joke and say, "Well, here we come again," you
Oh,
know.
how
'cause
wonderful.
Yes, we really enjoy it.
Well, and these are the kind of things that Richard does best. And Richard is a people person. He
He
doesn't
is.
talk much in public, but he does what he needs to do and does a great job in
He
doing
loves
it.
old people.
He does.
He does.
He
He
loves
loves
people,
old
period.
people.
Yeah.
And he treats us you know, with respect and love. He has that nature about him.
Well, and I think that's important too, because you trust him and it's okay for him to come into your home and you're not frightened. And I know we hear of so much of that with
Yes.
seniors, with the fact that they don't feel safe in their homes and do not want just anyone coming in and out that you don't know, and that's a very wise thing.
He is trustworthy.
But Richard has that way that you can feel comfortable with him, and he's going to do the job he needs to do. So we're just thrilled to death that he's been able to work with you. And what are maybe some of the other things that our folks in the community may not know that eHomes
Well,
does
he
in some different things?
He's changed the batteries in our smoke detectors. He has changed lighting fixtures on our front porch to where we have lighting out there, which it wasn't working. And he has installed a ceiling fan in a bedroom for us to where that when we don't use the air conditioner, that it will be just enough to circulate the air in there. And of course, with Verlie's breathing problem, a lot of time even with the air on, we still have the fan going to circulate it. So, and he has reset a toilet in our house, and I can't even think he's done so much that one time I know I had my dryer just kicked out. It would not work, and of course I didn't think to change a fuse. And I called Richard. I said, Richard, I got a load of clothes in the dryer, and it won't hop a leg. And he said, I'll be out there after a while. And he came out there. He changed a fuse and fixed it for me.
And it's just as simple as
Simple
that.
thing. I've
but
learned that
these
now.
things, a lot of them I don't think to do, and so I think it is so important. And even changing light bulbs, I know that was one of the issues when we first started talking eHomes and the things that could be done and the things that were important. And I don't think anything at all about light bulb changing. Of course, I can get a chair and stand on it, and but for you all, that's a task to do that you really don't need to be doing. And even something as simple, so if Richard could have more, if there were more Richards, I think in the eHomes program, so many more things I think could be done.
About a month ago, I decided I would paint the wrought iron on our front porch. And I did. I painted one of the corner posts, and I got out there on the back side to paint on the outside, and I used my step ladder. And I got to thinking, Pearl, I believe you're asking for trouble. I think you just better call Richard and let him finish this job up. I did that one post, but the next post would have been right over the concrete steps and the walk. And I thought, if I fall there, I will be in trouble. So I just quit after I got the one post on the corner. And I told Richard, I said, Richard, do you paint? And he said, well, you won't paint it, Pearl. I said, my wrought iron. He said, when can I do it? I said, well, whenever it's convenient. So he said, I'll take care
There
of
you
it.
came. Well, I was going to tell you if you wanted to come paint mine, that would be good, because I have wrought iron too, but I'll have to call Richard, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think those are the things, and probably what I'm hearing, it's made you all more conscious of the things that you can call someone to do for you instead of doing it yourself and maybe risking being injured. And so I think that safety factor of eHomes is as important as anything else, and it has made you stop and think
Yes,
a
it
lot of
did.
times
I
about, I shouldn't be
realized
doing this.
When I was up on that ladder, I thought, uh-oh, Pearl, you
need to get down.
You need to get off of this thing and let Richard do this. And also, Richard has weather stripped our front doors, getting it ready for the winter.
And
He's
that
done
makes a difference in
Yes,
the
it
wintertime
does on our
and in the
heating.
summertime too, with the utility cost.
He's just done so much. I can't remember everything he's done. Because
Well,
I just
that is-
depend on him to do
yeah.
anything that comes up that needs to be repaired or whatever. He's just right there for us.
Well, what was your connection before you learned about eHomes with the senior center? Did you go over to the center?
Yes, before he got where he couldn't go up and down the steps, we were with the senior citizens regularly, and that's where we learned about eHomes, was going for our meals.
Well, let's talk about the meals then. That just kind of expands what the entire program is. It's not just e-homes, it's the meals. It's the meal on, I guess you deliver still. I've seen you loading up. And so how important is that to you all and to your friends who go there?
Well, it's an outlet for us. We have three families: our own family, our blood family, our church family, and our senior family. And it's an outlet for him, especially because in the wintertime he gets so bored being confined. And so we can go to senior citizens and have lunch and fellowship with the people there, because he can get right out of the car, right at the door, and go in. He's not exposed. And then he can fellowship with them. Besides, the meal saves me from having to cook and clean up the kitchen.
I like that.
I like that
like
part
that.
especially.
Yeah.
So it really helps in more ways than one. Besides, I guess you would say the communicating with people your own level of age and aches and pains and medical problems and everything. And so we just connect pretty well with our friends there. And we have learned a lot of people through this program.
Well, you do. I've been in and out over there, sometime during the meal time, sometime not. And it's just amazing. There's always something going on,
Right.
Whether it's the line dancers practicing or the kitchen band. And I was excited. They were at the United Way kickoff. They are wonderful, and we had them at our kickoff last week, and they were absolutely the hit of the whole thing. Nobody else meant anything at all, and that again is keeping you active and gives you something interesting to learn about and to be out. And so that's extremely important.
It
And I
is.
am so glad that we do have the senior center. That I had a friend that has since passed on that was going there, and she told me one day, she said, you know, June, I don't only come here for the food, I come here for the fellowship. That is important. And you all have said the same thing. It's
It is.
important to
It's
you.
very important.
And it's there, and so many people need to know about that in our community. There are so many that maybe don't make themselves get out, but
It motivates you.
it does.
It really does,
surely
and we
does.
need motivation, and it does motivate you. If we don't get to go to church on Sunday, if he doesn't feel like it, the weekends are so long then till we get ready. If Monday morning comes, he's ready to go back to senior citizen. So it motivates you, it really does.
Well, and it helps you to keep active and mentally and physically a lot of times, and bonding with those folks
does.
that you're doing them a favor and they're doing you a favor too
Yes.
by being community for each
Yes.
other. So that's just one other part of Senior Center that is so important to our community, and we are very fortunate that we do have Guelda, and
Yes.
she has all the great ideas and the energy to see that you all take part in them and do them all. So, Guelda, what other programs? I know you do some transportation,
Right.
taking care of doctor's appointments, helping the seniors with
We have a
that.
fairly funded program in which seniors 60 years of age or older who live in McCracken County who need transportation to doctor's appointments can receive that assistance. We have subcontracted with the local PATS, Paducah Area Transit, and they run our buses for us. And so we can take them to doctor's appointments, to the grocery once a week, to the bank of their choice, and to the pharmacy. You know, the necessary trips that they need to make to be independent, because we really feel that our major goal is keeping seniors independent and healthy.
And safe.
Safe.
Because many of them do not need to be driving anymore, and they don't realize that. And because they have to, it's necessity to them. They have to go to the appointments, and so that's another service that our community needs to be aware of. And I know when I do meetings, a lot of folks say, my mother needs a meal, or she has been ill and cannot cook for herself. And so I say, you better call Guelda over at the senior center and see what can be done, because most people are not aware of it. and their families trying to take care of them, and this relieves them, and the program is there. And it's such a neat thing to go over there and to visit with everybody except when they're eating. Now, don't get in their way at eating time and dessert time. I found that out the hard way, but, and that's good too, because that excitement, it lets you know they're ready for that meal. They need that meal, and that's a part of it.
Quietest time. When they start eating, everything quietens down.
Yes, it does. I've noticed that, Verlie, that it is a little bit quieter then, and they don't tend to want to share their spots either. And but I think that's the exciting thing about seeing and interacting with you all when I go over there. It's just, and I know I've taken some of our committees, and they're younger people, and they're just thrilled to death. One of them, one time we had sausage and sauerkraut or something, and I can't remember, it wasn't Guelda, it was the one before, I think, was just apologizing, and those kids were thrilled to death. They said, my wife won't cook that, and I am so glad. So you all get the special services that they would love to have sometimes. So not only is it special to you, but it's really kind of special to them when they go over there too. And
I think our volunteers serving the meals are wonderful too. They tease and pick with us, you know, and encourage us, and they'll tell Verlie if he don't clean his plate, they'll cut his oxygen off. And so we just have a lot of fun, you know.
And that's what you
Yes.
need. That you need to be
Yes.
pepped up sometime, and when you're not feeling the greatest in the world, it just helps. And I know there's a lot of hugs that go around over
Yes.
there, and
Yes.
that's important for you too. And I've heard that Verlie tends to have some lipstick spots on his face over there, so I want to hear about that.
It gets there some way.
Well, that's just another little perk that
Yeah,
you have.
that's just the way those women are having fun and kids around.
Well,
And,
it's their friendship
yes, it
offers
is.
to you, and that's, you're special then.
It's good to have somebody come around, speak to you, talk to you.
It is, because if you stayed home and felt sorry for yourself sometime, I know on a bad day and I'm in, I just feel better when somebody says, you look like you need a hug, and I do, and you all get a lot of it over there. So,
Yeah, it's a nice place to go.
well, I'm just so glad that it's there, and all of the other services that are offered. Can you think of any more, or you all think of anything else that is done over there for seniors that folks out in the community may not know about? I have found so many say, well, I saw you all on TV, but I didn't know about that program. So let's just be sure they know everything they need
Well,
to know.
I didn't know about e-homes for a long time, and I didn't know what it, you know, was all about until Richard volunteered and told us. So it needs to be publicized, because they do a wonderful thing, not just for Verlie and me, but they do it for anyone in need. And I know different ones over there have taken advantage of it, and it's just been a blessing. And I've been so proud of our ramp that I show those pictures everywhere I go, because I'm just so thrilled with it. It's beautiful, and it's so comfortable to go up and down, and it's safe. I feel secure when we're going up and down it with him.
Oh, and that's so important too. Well, I'll tell you one thing, Richard doesn't have to talk. You'll talk for him, and you're his best advertisement.
Well, I'll
So
do that for him. I'm
telling.
telling it like it is.
That is so wonderful that you feel, you know, so many times folks say, well, I saw the staff person, they can see Guelda and they see me, but I want to see somebody that this has helped. I want to know who they are. Now then, they know who Verlie and Pearl are, and they hear firsthand what you all have to say about the program, because I could talk about it all day long, but it would not mean that much. But I just appreciate so much you all being willing to do this and get out and come down to the station and talk about what has been done. So many of us we don't want to talk about it. If we have to ask someone to do something for us, we don't want to talk about it. But I thank you all so much for being willing to do that.
I'm just glad I could do my part.
Well, you have just done a great job today, and I know Richard will be glad. And Verlie, you want to say anything about, before we go, about those women that won't put a little lipstick on you after a while, maybe?
But they do that just for fun.
Well, that's good, as long as Pearl
Fellowship.
doesn't mind.
And I enjoy their fellowship and their fun. It means a lot to us. And the meals are good there too, but that's not all I go for.
I know you go for the kisses, and that's okay. That is totally all right. You
That
just
helps
keep
a lot.
going. You just keep going, and I hope to see you all over there again, and I will look for you now that I have made your acquaintance. And Guelda, we've got just a minute to wrap up. Can you think of anything? Maybe talk about some more of the needs you might have in the center.
Well, not only do we serve lunch at 12 o'clock for those individuals who are 60 and over, but we do our Meals on Wheels, our delivery throughout the county. We also have exercise classes and dance classes and bridge players and cards players and special days. Today we're having a special meal. We're putting on the Ritz.
All right.
And the staff is going to serve everybody. Everybody's dressing up in their finery. I'm going to wear a tuxedo.
Oh.
And there's going to be some
All
other
right.
fancy dressed people over there. So we're always having fun. But guaranteed, if you come to the senior center, you'll find somebody you know, and you'll find somebody that's in worse shape than you are. You will feel better about yourself when you've been over to the center.
And that so many times we take that for granted, that we're the worst one in the world. We just feel so bad today, and then you're going to perk up and feel better when you see that. And I think that's important too. But I am so grateful for the senior center, because we do have a wonderful one here. And anyone that's viewing, if you have need, your family needs the senior center, please call Guelda, call the senior center, or call United Way. We can always steer you in the right direction, but it is something that is a service to this community that is desperately needed, and I thank you all for being a part of it.
We're glad to do it.
And thank you, Pearl, for talking so wonderfully about Richard's program, Holmes, and Verlie,
Well, thank
we
you, United
appreciate
Way,
you
too.
coming.
He works at that program too.
He does, and that's important, and being sure to meet as many of the needs as possible. And he certainly does that. So we'll have to tell Richard we talked about him today. So thank you all so much, and
Thank
we
you.
look forward to seeing you again.
Okay,
I
thank
wish
you.
I was physically able.